Well, it's time for another gardening week. My first job is to set this pepper bed out. I've got 3 pepper beds on the allotment and 1 in the greenhouse, and I need to take 1 out each week now through October so I can get them replanted. So this is the one that I've chosen, so I'm going to get on with that. So it's raining now, so I'm going to move into the polytunnel and start clearing these summer squash plants out. And getting these beds reconditioned and rehydrated. So I'm just taking the cucumbers out as well now, and just seeing if there's any fruits left on. There's not really many. I'm not losing anything much, I think, by taking these out. So I just sorted through those peppers, and I've got those Lemon Dream. I don't know, 50% of those will probably ripen. And these are the long yellow Ringo. Quite a few of those will ripen as well. And there's a few red bell peppers. I think these are New Ace that'll ripen, a few that won't. The rest of them will get used by people who like green peppers. That's not me. So yeah, I'll just load that up and get on with this bed. So these beds have cleaned up nicely. My mini greenhouse is filling up well with this year's Strulch bags ready for next year. And I like to give this bed now a good handful, maybe a handful and a half of bloodfish and bone, ready for the next crop, and I'll give that a good watering. I'm going to give these beds 3 watering cans. That's 30 litres of water each, and that should be enough to rehydrate the top 3 inches that were really dry, and as I say, it's nice and moist below that. But it's that 3 inches that I'm going to be planting into, so I want it well hydrated. And I'll just put a couple of buckets of homemade compost on top. Now normally when I'm watering these beds, if I hadn't have used Strulch, I'd have seen lots and lots of slugs and snails kind of come into the surface and, you know, exploring their territory, seeing what's going on. This time I found 1 snail and 2 slugs in the whole bed, which is pretty good going as far as I'm concerned. Obviously I'm adding my own homemade compost now, so there might be some slugs in this, so I will just put probably like 4 or 5 slug pellets in the bed before I plant it, leave that for 3 days, and then we'll be ready to go. So in good Blue Peter fashion, here's a bed that I did last week. Planted lettuce just like I'm going to do in that other bed. It's grown really well, no signs of slug or snail damage, just a few weeds from my homemade compost. Yeah, it's looking really good, really happy with it. So just to run through the benefits again, really good water retention. That's, I think, the really fantastic benefit in summer. Probably reducing my workload by 4/5, you know, so it's a really dramatic reduction in the amount of watering that I have to do. And the peppers absolutely love it. They love the low tunnels, but they love having the cooler roots that the Strulch gives them, and, you know, just being in beds that are consistently damp. So rather than, you know, loads of water and then it drying out and then loads of water and it drying out, it stays nice and consistent all the way through the year. They really love it. I had the best pepper harvest we've ever had, I think, this year. Second benefit, weed suppression. really useful to have that weed suppression. This is an allotment site. We get an enormous amount of weeds blown in from other plots. Third benefit is slugs don't like the iron compound that's on the chopped straw, and so that's a really nice benefit. But I think actually the better benefit is that they associate that sense of discomfort that they get when they go over. It doesn't kill them or anything, just discomfort with the smell, and then that smell lingers for months, and so they just migrate away because they don't like the smell. So that's really great. And then when it comes to taking it out, it's a nice quick process to remove it. Probably took about 10 minutes or something like that. Bagged up, ready for next year. Beds quick to rehydrate. Planted up this lettuce, and this lettuce will stay in here and be harvested late autumn and all the way through winter. And then about sort of January, early February time, take out 4 lettuces, pop in 4 cauliflowers, and then I'll have a nice cauliflower crop in May. By the end of May, cauliflowers will be out. Put the straulch back down again, put a top layer of 1 centimetre of fresh straulch on top, and pop in the peppers. So next job for today is to take out this beetroot bed. Some of these beetroot are huge, but never mind, they'll still be nice, and we'll actually be harvesting this beetroot bed for the rest of the year, probably until well into December, and then we'll switch over to these few here that we're going to put into store. I'll show you how we do that in a minute. So that didn't take very long. There's a few slugs in this bed. There's quite a bit of slug damage on some of the beetroot, which is pretty consistent with my experience from previous years. It makes me wonder whether I should be using straulch on these beds as well. I had a nice surprise as well when I was clearing these. I found a crown prince squash that had been hidden behind them, and we're a bit short of crown prince squash this year, so yeah, that was a real bonus find, so I'm really pleased about that. Yeah, so move all this lot down to the compost bins and get to work. Right, so processing your beetroot for storage. Twist off the leaves and then brush off any soil and just inspect for any damage, and that is fine. And we'll just do another couple. So again, just twist off the leaves, take any straggling bits off, you don't want those rotting, and brush off any soil. And again, that's a lovely beetroot, absolutely perfect. And yeah, even one like that is fine, although that's a little bit difficult to twist off probably, but managed to do it, right? So, this brushing also helps to make sure you don't get any slugs in your store. Definitely don't want that. So I've just got a few examples here of ones that I won't be storing. So that's got a really deep slug hole in it. It's well healed rather, but I'll still just use that now. This one, again, really deep slug hole. I'll use that now. This one has got this mouldy patch on it here. Obviously that'll just rot through there, so again that'll get used now. And that one's too small. So other than that, everything was fine. So that's the storage beetroot done. I've done 3 boxes. It's really simple to do. All I do is just put a layer of pine shavings at the bottom, wet it, dampen them off just with tap water, and then layer of beetroot, and then more shavings, then more beetroot, then more shavings. And each time I put the shavings in, I'm just damping them off. The objective is to keep the beetroot from touching each other and to keep the beetroot really moist. They basically like being stored at almost 100% humidity, which you achieve with these really damp pet shavings. And I'm just going to pop them in the greenhouse underneath the bench, again where it's nice and damp, and hopefully come January time when we need them, or maybe even February, we'll have some nice beetroot in there. Obviously I put the biggest ones at the bottom and the smallest ones at the top, and we have got that big bed over there of beetroot that we're going to be eating between now and when we start on these storage beets. So I'm pretty pleased with this. This bed is going to be Brussels sprouts, I think, next year. And so we've got Brussels sprouts there in the bed adjacent to it. I'm going to put my own homemade compost on this. I'm going to put some lime down first, then compost it, and then I'll plant field beans into it, and then Brussels sprouts in May. Oh, I do like a well-prepped bed. Oh, now I need to get all this lot sorted out and composted. Well, I did manage to get the polytunnel cleared, but I'll talk more about that in next week's gardening week video. For now, I'm just going to content myself with this harvest. It's not a bad harvest at this time of year, and you can really see the transition in action through October, and it's a tricky one for me to manage, as I often say, because I've got so much ground either replanted or empty waiting to be planted, or with summer crops in it that I'm still waiting to harvest and all that. So yeah, I mean, I'm a bit short of a few things, but it doesn't really look like it. I think there's plenty here. So that's the Crown Prince that I found, the spare one, or the one that I'd missed. So I'm really pleased with that. Potatoes from the store. That is the last of the pears from my plot, but we've still got plenty of pears on Debbie's plot. These are really nice, actually. They're invincible. Not that tasty, not a rich taste, but a really nice texture to them. A really nice selection of apples there. Still loads and loads of apples, obviously, to harvest. Leeks. Yeah, loads of leeks still to come. And that is one of the pepper beds there, worth of peppers. And as you can see, there's a lot of green ones. We don't eat a lot of green ones, to be honest, so we'll just be taking these ripe ones and giving the green ones away. And so we've got 2 whole beds still to harvest, and then the ones in the greenhouse as well, so we're not short of peppers. I have taken one of the greenhouse chili peppers out, and that was that harvest off there. And I've taken all of the courgettes out now, so that's what's left of the courgettes, so not very much, but we've got quite a few of these little immature squash, which kind of work quite nicely as a sort of courgette alternative. So we've got quite a lot of those. I couldn't get any more on the table, but yeah, they're quite nice. Still working our way through the dregs of the onions and the dregs of the garlic. I'm really looking forward to actually putting some nice onions and garlic on the table. And I just found those few onions that I hadn't harvested. So yeah, one of these days you'll see some nice garlic and some nice onions. But nice kale, nice calabrese, not such a great cauliflower, but it's okay. More calabrese, and these are the last of the tomatoes from the polytunnel. Actually, they're not. Those are the ones I picked last week, and the ones I picked this week are still in the utility, so can't possibly get those on this table. There's far too many, but that's what they look like. And carrots from the summer carrot bed. Now these summer carrots they're okay, but you can see like a little bit of slug damage and bits and pieces on them, but yeah, they're all right. These are the first test pick of the winter carrots, so I'm super pleased with those. They look absolutely perfect, so if I can keep those slug free for another few weeks until I take the tops off, then I'll be very happy if they all come out like that. So super pleased with those. Yeah, still picking radish and just picked a few turnips, not very many turnips at the moment. And I have unfortunately had to take these little baby savoys out because they've got club root and I needed to replant the bed. It wasn't worth leaving them in because they're not going to grow because basically there's no root system on them. So yeah, we're going to eat those obviously now and hope that the savoys on the allotment do better. They're doing okay at the moment. And first pick of the Jerusalem artichokes. So I like starting my Jerusalem artichokes now because we've got a lot of them and I won't get through them all if I don't start eating them now, and super good for you. So yeah, I mean, they do get slightly better probably over time, but they're good enough now. Big salad onions, still working our way through the big ones. We've got some nicer ones. Well, actually, when I say nicer ones, they're no nicer on the allotment, they're just a bit smaller. I don't eat these big, thick outer skins, which are a bit tough. I just cut the stem and take the inner core out, which is much nicer. Asian greens, these haven't got very much time left now, these Asian greens. They are a bit tough, being outside for a long time. Nothing like the sort of succulent, tender ones that we'll have in the polytunnel soon. Last of the cucumbers, so that's it. And I did just pick most of the outdoor tomatoes. Now, these are not ripe. I don't think they'll ripen outside now. So I'm going to just keep those in the house and ripen them in the house. We have got some super sweet tomatoes in the greenhouse as well. So I'm not going to put those in the salads this week. I'm just going to keep those for next week and see if I can ripen them up a little bit more. Some of them further down are a lot redder or more orangey than these. But anyway, that's what we've got. And, oh yeah, a nice red cabbage. I've taken all my red cabbages out now, and they're all potted up. I like to pot them up so I can get the beds replanted. And I have cleared the summer beetroot bed, and it's got 3 different colours of beetroot there, and you can see little slug holes and things. So these are the use nows. So their storage beets are all boxed up now and stored away, and they're looking obviously a lot nicer than those. And I've got a big bed of beetroot as well, so not so bad. Picked my first radicchio. I've got quite a lot of radicchio, and obviously I don't like too much of it in the salad mixes, so I basically got 1 radicchio between now and the end of the year to harvest, and this was the tiniest little one, and it wasn't looking too healthy, so I thought I'd take that out. But I've got a lot of much bigger ones. They do actually store pretty well in the fridge in a sealed up container, so I'll probably end up harvesting them in early December and probably keeping them in the fridge, and that means I can get that bed replanted. So underneath here is all the lettuce mixes, and here is the baby leaf, getting a bit big, but the baby leaf beetroot. That's the golden beet, and one of those is charred, I can't remember which one, and one of those is just a beetroot, red beetroot. I much prefer these golden beetroot leaves, they are absolutely gorgeous. And a decent amount now of baby leaf spinach for the salad mixes. So yeah, I'm going to make up those salads for you now so you can see the end result. And as I say, I won't put the tomatoes in until they're ripened off a bit. And I'll be picking the sun gold on the day that I eat the salads because they tend to split. So there's no point putting sun golds in a salad mix and sticking it in the fridge for a week because they'll all split by then. So I think that's everything we've got going. Yeah, it's not too bad. As I say, it'll all transition to winter veg by the end of October, but for now we've still got lots of nice summer veggies. And by the time we get to October, hopefully we'll have a frost, and then all the winter veggies will be lovely and sweet. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel. I'll see you soon.